we've been pretty optimistic lately, especially about some of the young players that we've talked about the last few days. Bump, Luchanko, even Grabenkin, we've talked about some. I wanted to kind of even it out a little bit today. I don't want to be overtly negative, but I wanted to kind of look at different possible outcomes for these guys. Because this time of year, it's, oh, everyone's just going to live up to expectations. Everything's going to be great. We're excited. And then going through this little exercise we did, we realized, man, we've been wrong so many times.
So many times.
So I wanted to compare some of the potential Flyers rookies, young guys coming into this season to players of the past, a best and worst case scenario sort of situation. And I want to lead it off with Alex Bump, a guy we are excited about.
Inordinately excited about this child.
5th round pick, but he's coming off a national championship.
Yeah.
Seems to have a chip on his shoulder. Really fun attitude.
Cocky
guy.
Yeah.
Plays a north-south game. He's physical. He looks like somebody who we could be really, really big fans of.
Yeah.
But there are guys who also fit that description who perhaps we were just this excited about, and it didn't quite work out that way, Kelly. But I want to start out with what I think could be maybe the best possible outcome for Alex Bump.
Okay.
RJ Umberger. First time around.
Okay.
Like rookie RJ Umberger.
I was perplexed for a moment.
Not the RJ Umberger we got whose body didn't work when they traded Scott Hartnell for him.
Right.
Like he was like a human, oh man, look at all these injuries. Like, oh, it's just him. Like,
the RJ Umberger that had a cheeseburger named after him at that place on South Street.
Yeah, I was a huge Umberger fan. He had that really good 08 playoff. His rookie year, he scores 20 goals with the Flyers. I think that sort of guy, not a star, but a really good role player who can pot some goals for you and can bring a little bit of a physical element. I think that is a strong comparison for Bump in terms of what his best case scenario could be.
That's a really good comparison, actually. And I hadn't considered it only because my brain is tainted by late stage.
The second time around?
Yeah, late stage RJ Umberger. But yeah, I mean, like if a 5th round pick turns into RJ Umberger, not a bad result at all. But I'm thinking your worst case scenario for him wounds me a little bit because I was
so high on Wade Allison.
Excited about Wade Allison.
But it's kind of one college player, later pick, but you have a higher expectation for him because you just see the way he plays. But Wade Allison's biggest issue was health. That was a thing that really held him back. And we have heard about Alex Bump. He likes to mix it up. He likes to carry the puck into the middle of the ice. We know he's cocky and he talks a lot of S.
Yep.
There is a possibility that health could be a concern being the type of player that he is. And if that's the case, like RJ Umberger, you know, first 3 years in the league, 20 goals, 38 points, 16 goals, 28 points, 13 goals, 50 points. That's a really good start. I think that's more than enough to expect from Alex Bump. Wade Allison, we had very high expectations for.
I was so excited about him.
His inability to stay healthy. Like, how many NHL games has he even played in his career? 75, and 60 of them came in 2022-23. He hasn't played in the NHL since.
Yeah, and before the show, we were going through, the thing that scares me about Alex Bump is that we were going through like some of these lists of rookies that we've had over the years, and there are just so many names that I can remember being super psyched about that just turned out to be absolutely nothing. And I do kind of worry. Like, there's a reason he was a 5th round pick, right? Like, a lot of scouts watched him play, and he was a 5th round pick. He did really well in college. But that was a very small sample size. And I do, in the back of my mind, I'm like, is he Tanner Lazinski? Like, is he, just a guy?
I couldn't, when we were putting this together, I couldn't remember the difference between Lazinski and Torensky. There's also Connor Bunneman. There's just that group of dudes who we kept being like, they're going to be a player.
No, it's a guy.
And it just kept not working.
Yeah.
I want to use this other comparison for a player later, but yeah, I think the Umberger Allison scale.
I like it.
Like, good middle six forward, plays a role for you, score you maybe 20 goals, and then just never able to get his footing. Like, those are the two probably opposite outcomes for Alex Bump. Jett Luchanko. I think he just has a wide variety of outcomes. Did you see all the responses to our tweet about Luchanko that PHLY Flyers put out?
Yeah.
Like, there's still a lot of people very down on the
Very
Luchanko
down.
pick. Like, it's turning into like he's actually a bust. And I just don't know how you can come to that conclusion.
It's
Like,
very interesting.
he made the NHL a year ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that like people want him to be a 1C and he's not. And so they're going to judge him on that. I just think, I think there's a wide range of outcomes and there's a way for it to go poorly. And we're going to talk about that. But man, the vitriol for Luchanko was surprising to me.
Yeah, people are real weird about this kid.
I think
I just don't. I mean, I know that all of the experts told you that we were supposed to pick Zeev Buium. I understand that that's what you wanted to happen. But like, if you think about what you've actually seen with your eyeballs from Zeev Buium, it has been mediocre at best. It has not been. He did not step onto the ice like Cale Makar and light the world on fire. He looked fine in the games that he got in the NHL. And you know who else looked fine in the games he got in the NHL? Jett Luchanko. He looked fine. He also did not step on the ice and blow anyone out of the water. So like, I understand that like in your mind, this was some kind of terrible wrong pick. But like based on the evidence that we have right now, we still don't know if it was good or bad. And you could probably stop being mad about it because Zeev Buium is obviously not Cale Makar.
that's like a lot of defensemen went before Zeev. Now, listen, I preferred Zeev. That's the pick I wanted to make. This was a big surprise to me. The air in the room at our draft party, it was like just a balloon popping. It was.
We made a joke about them taking Jett Luchanko
Yes.
earlier in the show, like before the pick even happened. We were like, what are they going to do? Take Jett Luchanko? And
I do
Yes.
think he has the potential to be a player we talked about on the main show just a little bit earlier. I like this comparison you made. I think we've both said this before, Mike Richards. Now, there are these 2 years for Richards here, 08 and 09. He scored 28 goals, 30 goals, 75 points, 80 points. I do not believe that will ever be Jett Luchanko.
No, I think for me, this was less about like he's going to be the same player as Mike Richards and more like Mike Richards wasn't a super high pick.
He was in the 20s.
Yeah, he came into the organization, I think, with a lot of us really hopeful that he was going to be an impact player for the team, and he ended up being one. And that's kind of what I think best case for Jett Luchanko is that, like, no, he's not the same player as Mike Richards, but he comes onto the team and he makes an impact in the way that he will with the way that he plays his game. And I think that that's the best case scenario.
I think that's like just the arc that Richards had. And again, I'm going to take out the 75 and 80 point seasons because I don't think that's Luchanko. But first 2 years in the league for Richards, 11 goals, 34 points, 10 goals, 32 points. I think that would be acceptable for a 19-year-old rookie.
Sure.
Who's probably going to be lower in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think, and then what he turned into, the 60, 65 point guy that Richards was.
Yes.
Like, I think that's the ceiling there. But not just, oh, well, okay, so he's a second liner, but like does a lot of other stuff for you.
Right.
Like, is a really good 2C because he is a detail-oriented player. Maybe he's not driving the offense, but he's complementary to a winger who does drive the offense.
Yeah.
And like Mike Richards was never the best offensive player, but he did have those huge years because he's playing with freaking Simone Gagne. You know, maybe if we have that sort of setup, it could all come together.
Yes.
And like he could do that. But I think the starting out as a 30-point guy, being a trustworthy center, like that sort of just detail oriented. You can play him in matchups. He's important to your team, even if he's not the leading scorer.
Right.
And then eventually in his mid to late 20s, turn into the 60, 65 point guy. I think that's a solid comparison.
Yeah. And I think that like collectively we need to stop thinking that him being a good 2C is like somehow a failure. Like, I do think that a lot of those responses that we got, the vibe is very much like you said, like he's not a 1C. So that means it's a failure of a pick. Like having a good 2C is good. Like we also need that.
I just look
we don't have that right now.
I look at those 08 to 2010, 2011 teams as the blueprint because it's like the only good ones we've had in 2 decades. But like there was no 1C on those teams. Like Richards Carter, Briere, Giroux became one.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in those years.
No, he wasn't.
Like, those guys are just, they had 3 good 2Cs who all did different things for you. And I think that's kind of the mold Luchanko is going to fall into. My worst case for him is Scott Lawton. And not to bash Scott Lawton. One, I think Luchanko, while may not be a first-line player, does have pretty high floor.
Yeah.
It's the idea, kind of like we talked about yesterday, how he's going to do one thing in juniors, and then in the NHL, he's maybe not that player.
Yeah.
It took Lawton a long time to recalibrate his game and realize what he was.
Yeah, it did.
And that is something I could definitely see being the case for Luchanko as well.
So you think, like, if he ends up only being a bottom 6 talent, it's going to take him...
a good enough 3C, maybe a guy who's like an awesome 4th liner, but like that's like basically Ryan Poehling. Maybe Ryan Poehling's the comparable, but I was trying to go with,
that would be a disappointment. Yeah, you're right.
Guys whose career we saw the full arc. And it's like Lawton, just remembering how it all started. Like I think he got a 4-game tryout too. I think it was only 4 games because it was the lockout season.
And he got sent back. Yeah.
And he had to go to the AHL. He had a lot of stop and starts in his career. Eventually figured it out, but was never, oh yeah, man, he scored like he did in juniors. He was never, and I could see that being Luchanko.
That would be rough.
I prefer Richards.
I would too. I too would prefer the good outcome.
All right, I want to talk about Emil Andrae before we wrap up. I really like that these 2 comparables are, the D pair we thought was going to be so great.
I sure did.
On the plus side, Travis Sanheim, like a guy who, all right, maybe he's a little bit of a project. Maybe he's taking a little longer than we thought, but ultimately becomes something really good for you. I think he has more offensive upside than Travis Sanheim, as we talked about on the main show. Like he's a 30-point guy. But I think that's sort of like the slow incline of his game to ultimately become pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's going to take...
But it takes time.
It's going to take time, and it's going to take a coach seeing the tools that we've seen from Andrae in kind of spurts and deciding like, yeah, that's who that kid actually is, and then fostering that, because John Tortorella was obviously not that guy. So it'll be interesting to see where Andrae fits with Rick Tocchet. But like we've seen the tools. Like he has the ability to be a very effective offensive defenseman in the NHL. He just hasn't been able to do it consistently. And maybe with a more supportive environment, he would be able to do that.
And you came up with the worst case is Phil Myers. And I actually love this because obviously 2 wildly different style of players. But there's one thing in common. How quick can they think?
Oh, God.
Remember how we used to...
Oh, my God, you're right.
Remember how we used to joke you could smell the burning when Phil Myers had to make a decision. And I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Andrae to like, oh, yeah, he has hockey IQ or not. But I do know he's been a slow decision maker.
Yeah.
And little things like, yo, don't get hit all the time seems to be something he has to learn. And if that holds him back, that's kind of like you just mentioned. He's got the tools. Phil Myers,
he had all the tools.
He had all the tools, but ultimately it didn't work out for him, at least in like a top 4 role.
No, he is a big doofus.
Missing that little bit.
Yeah.
And right now, that might be what's holding Andrae back. And he doesn't have the advantage of Myers' size.
See, I didn't even think about it that way. I was just like, here's a guy I thought was going to be good, and then he wasn't. But like, no, you're absolutely right. Like the decision-making with Andrae is not there yet. And that's a thing that I don't know if you can fix.
I think with reps, you can get better at it. And it's about how good he is at everything else that he like. If he can just keep himself healthy, like if he can keep himself healthy,
that would be good.
He takes so many hits in the corners along the wall, just holding the puck a little too long.
Yeah.
If he can just cut that down a little bit, I think he could maybe be closer to the plus side of this conversation. But that's the fun we are having today. Just a little convo about best and worst case scenarios for a couple of guys, 3 guys we are hoping to see in the NHL regularly this year. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out. I am Bill Matz. That's Kelly Hinkle. Be excellent to each other.